Hey guys, Marc Ventura here. Hope you're well. In this video, I'm going to talk about what I call the equity triangle. Now, the equity triangle follows on from the previous video I spoke about or recorded called Should I Buy Now or Should I Wait? And the equity triangle is all about showing you why you need to get into the market as soon as possible. Now, I'm not saying you have to rush into the market. Certainly don't think you should rush into the market, but you've got to get prepared and try and get in the market as soon as possible. And obviously, speaking to a mortgage broker or someone like yourself that can help you get ready is really important. But like I said at the start, the equity triangle will show you why you need to get into the market as soon as possible and why it's for your best interest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to start to take you through this equity triangle and explain to you how the equity triangle works and how it relates to getting into the market. Now, I'm going to scribble on my screen. Forgive me for my scribble. These numbers aren't going to be exactly spot on. The recording is essentially live, but bear with me. It's going to really show you why the equity triangle is so important to understand and why you want to understand it and help you to get into the market. So I'm going to scribble up here, equity triangle. So this equity triangle is about demonstrating to you why you need to start as soon as possible. So what I'm going to draw here, I'm going to take here today. So this starting point is here today. This point here is say, let's say, 5 years time. So 5 years. The top here I'm going to pop is price, rent, mortgage. And it's all going to make sense shortly as we get through this. But what we're going to show you here is why you need to get started as soon as possible. Now, there's a couple of commentators out there, one being Scott Pape, the Barefoot Investor. Scott talks about a lot of fantastic things around how to manage your money and how to get yourself into a great financial position. Well, one thing I don't agree with him on, and is completely wrong, is where he talks about you needing to save for a 20% deposit. Now, there's a lot of media commentary around needing a 20% deposit. And a lot of confusion out there. People think they have to have this 20% deposit to get started into the property market. And for me, that is the worst thing you could possibly do. For most of us, the average price is, let's say it's 700,000 or more, depending on where you live. But let's say we take 500,000 as a simple price range, right? 20% deposit of 500 grand is $100,000. Now, we know for having 100K in savings is not easy, especially when we're starting out as first-time buyers, right? It's almost impossible unless we got a rich uncle or family member or parent that's going to give it to us. But for most of us, that's crazy dollars, and it's going to take years and years to save that amount of money. And for most of us, that's not realistic and achievable. So what I want to show you is why you want to get started straight away, even with the absolute minimum deposit. And this is the reason why. Because let's say we're starting out here today, and let's say the price is $500,000, right? And this whole equity triangle is again, I'm repeating myself here, but I just want to be really clear. You want to understand this because you don't need a 20% deposit to get started. You just want to get started with the minimum deposit. I'm going to show you why. Because let's say we start at 500,000 at property price. Now, historically, property prices grow by, on average, 7% per annum every year. They're not always 7%. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it can be 15. Other times they might not grow at all, or it might be negative. But on average, historically, over the last 100 and something years, property prices are going on average by around 7% a year. So if we look at this price, if we look at, say, today, property price is 500,000. Let's say you try and save for the 20% deposit. Let's say it's going to take you 3, 4, 5 years to get 20% deposit. Now, at the end of year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. So what happens? If it's 7% increase each year, that's 535. I'm just going to use almost 35 grand increments just to help with my maths. So let's say then we're at, say, 570. Then we're at, say, 605. Then we could be at 640. All of a sudden, then we're at, say, 675 in 5 years' time. Now, I've been just used $35,000 increments. That's even not the case. If we're using 7% per annum, it's going to be even higher. So if 20% deposit is 100 grand on 500, if you keep saving every year trying to get to that 20% deposit of 500, what you're going to find is every year that you delay that purchasing decision, the prices are going to go up. And what's going to happen is your deposit is now not going to be 10% of 20% of 500,000. It's now going to be 20% of 535 or 20% of 570, or it could be 20% of 605. Now, the difference between starting now and delaying your decision by 3 years is that now becomes over 120 grand. It's not 100,000 as we started. So what's happened is price has gone up. Now your 20% deposit is even bigger. Okay, but what also has now happened is the fact that you've actually now paid another 3 years of rent. Let's say you're paying 20 grand a year in rent. There's a couple or a family. That's 20 grand plus 20 grand plus 20 grand. All of a sudden, over 3 years, if you've delayed your purchasing decision by 3 years, let's say it's 1, 2, 3, your deposit now is way bigger. Your price is much more expensive, and you've also spent another 60 grand in rent. You might think that I'm sort of over exaggerating this, but this is what is happening. This is what actually happened. Let's say it wasn't 7% growth per year. Let's say it was even less. It still doesn't matter. Let's say it was maybe 5% growth per year. You're still sitting at 570 hypothetically. Deposit is bigger. You've spent more rent over 3 years, and all of a sudden you're getting further and further away. If your price goes up, your repayments are also going to increase. And the last thing that you're actually missing out on is that the mortgage is every year you're not paying down your mortgage. All you're doing is paying rent to someone, and that's going to paying off their mortgage. So what's happening is rent is, like they say, you've heard probably people say rent is dead money. It's dead money because it's like a flat line. In medical terms, a flat line means death. Same as paying rent. It's not going anywhere. It's not helping you in any way. It's just going to someone else to help someone else pay someone else's mortgage. So when you get in the market, why do you want to get in the market straight away? Because you want to participate in the market giving you growth. You want to get your 500 to be worth 675 in 5 years or 10 years time. You want to take advantage of the growth of the market. You also want to put your money, instead of being in rent, you want your money to go towards your mortgage. So it's reducing your mortgage, and you're creating what they call equity. Equity or wealth is the difference between the value of your assets and the level of debt. Now, when you're renting, you can't create this. But when you're buying it in the market, you can. And even if you have to sell that property after 5 years, all of a sudden, let's say your mortgage started at, let's say 500, then it got down to 490, even if it was going down slow, then 480, then 470, then 460, let's say then 450. All of a sudden, between 675 and 450 is 225 grand you've literally done nothing for. You just got in the market as soon as you could. So this is the power of the equity triangle. And it's why I always say, you've got to get started as soon as possible and with the minimum deposit to get you in the market. I hope that helps, guys. Any questions, please reach out. Cheers.